So once we've made our local adjustments, we want to move on to the global adjustments. So global adjustments are overall adjustments that we apply to the whole photograph. In this instance, we are going to smooth the skin of her cheeks, her forehead, her nose, her chin, underneath her chin on her neck, and the upper part of her chest here. We are going to do that without affecting her hair, her eyes, her teeth, her coat, and her blouse. So we want to be able to apply this blur to the photograph, but do so in a manner that is going to leave those areas unaffected. So to give you an idea, if we were to just apply an overall blur to this photograph, we certainly would smoothen her skin out, but it would also make the photograph look out of focus. So the trick here is going to be just to smooth out her skin and not the rest of the details in the photograph. So to start this technique, we are going to add 2 duplicate layers. And we're going to name the first one Darken, and the second one we are going to name Lighten. With the Lighten one highlighted in blue, if it's not, you can just click on that layer with your mouse. Then you are going to take the drop-down menu and change the blending mode from normal to lighten. And then we are going to change the blending mode again on the darken layer to darken. So the lighten layer, the blending mode is lighten. The darken, the blending mode is darken. Once we've done that, we can now go in and apply a blur filter. So we're going to apply a very special kind of blur. It's called a surface blur. And we're going to make sure that we have a radius of 34 and a threshold of 34. And what you can see that it's doing here, it's actually blurring the highlights or the lighter areas of the photograph, but it's not touching any of the darker areas in the image. We're going to then click on the darken layer, and we are going to do the same thing for that. Under the menu item, we're going to go to blur and then surface blur, and again a radius of 34, a threshold of 34. And you can see we've really added a lot of blur to this photograph. Much more blur than you might think is appropriate. But what's going to happen in the end here is we're going to go in and dial that blur back a little bit after we've made some refinements to this. So here's the magic or the secret, or really what the power of the technique is. You're going to click again on that lighten layer, and then you're going to go down to this little icon at the bottom of your Windows panel or your layers panel and add a layer mask. So you want to click on that little button there, and when you do it, that layer mask will come up for the lighten layer. And then we're going to do the same thing for the darken layer. We're going to click on that layer and then click on the mask for that layer. So in the next tutorial, we are actually going to work with these 2 masks and remove them from the area of her hair, her eyes, her teeth, her coat, and her blouse.